So we're here in the workshop materials that you have, and what I'm asking you to do is to brush up on this. So I'm asking you to take your hand. It's sort of like grasping after something that you never quite get. And you don't, it's not really a pluck, it's more of a brush with your fingers. First three strings, the A, E, and C strings with my index and middle finger, and catching the fourth string with my thumb. So, Kimo Hussey is a wonderful teacher, and he teaches a technique called Kamyala, and he is doing almost the same thing with what he's teaching in this lesson that I've given you the hot link for there. So I would take a look at that, and we'll go through this from now on. We'll have the same feel to it, and if you're having trouble with it, you can always use up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down for the paired beats. So let's take a look at the shuffle blues in C. I would put your pinky on the first string on the C there, okay? And just to get the rhythm going. Okay, now let's alternate using open. Play the second fret of the fourth string with your long finger. That's just open, A, and then if you want to throw in the B flat. When you use a turnaround, it sort of sets the rhythm for the whole piece. That's your intro. And you can use a turnaround as an intro. You can use it in between verses. And then at the end as well. You could use a different intro and use a turnaround between verses. You don't have to play a turnaround in between verses, but you may find yourself using it really very often. It's a nice way to transition. Turn it around to the top, and now you're ready for the next verse. So let's play a turnaround in C, and again hold down your pinky on the first string, third fret. Reach across to the third fret of the fourth string with your ring finger now. You're playing a B flat against the C, so that's a flatted seventh against the C, okay? And then you're just walking that down to the second fret, long finger. And then we'd play these 5/7 chord. In this case, it's G. So let's try that again. Get your pinky on the C, on the first string, reach across to the third fret. The way you feel when you learn something new, okay? The point is now you know what it is I'm going for, and you can use the technique called woodshedding, which I'm sure people have heard of. You go out behind the woodshed, you sit there, and you work on your uke until you get it right. So that apparently happened with Robert Johnson. He wasn't really respected in the blues world. All of a sudden he was gone for a few months. Some people said he made a pact with the devil so he could play like that. And he used a lot of that sort of language in his songs about the spirit come down on me and why I drink malted milk. That's a wonderful song. And we've got it playable on uke by Eric Clapton. So But he came back, and what he'd been doing was woodshedding, but people accused him of getting some supernatural gift, so he could now play the blues like nobody else. And the gift is hard work, okay? And if you happen to have copious musical talent granted to you, good for you. Okay, so that's in the key of C. In the key of A, we'd use the same sort of thing. We'd use an A, and we're going to use an A that's shaped like a G7th. We're going to use an A7th. So we would take a G7th chord and then move it up 2 frets, so you have 0, 4, 3, 4. And I'm just playing those top 3 strings. The 4th string, if you wanted to play it, would be somewhat of a reach. So the simplest thing to do is to play the top 3 strings, just push your G7th up 2 more frets to 4, 3, 4. And we're going to play that twice at the 4th fret, down 1 fret to 3, 2, 3, down 1 fret to G7, then play A. Let's try it again, because this looks ridiculously simple, okay? But there's so many variations of this turnaround that, so I would urge you to really get this under your fingers. Let's build it up, so we'll go down below that and we'll develop a similar turnaround by first using your index finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and let's just play that. Going down. So we'll be walking down from G, F sharp, F, E, then E7. Now if you put your index and long finger there next to it, put your long finger on the 3rd string, and just walk those 2 down. And then all we're going to do to complete this turnaround is to add the open A to the top. Which is number 3 there at the bottom of the page. And if you get into John Mayall and the Blues Breakers playing this Baby What You Want, play the 3 chords, A, then A7th, D, D7th, and then E7th, along with the Blues Breakers, and then play your turnaround however you want to play it. Whatever, so I would get one turnaround, work on that, learn it, use it in a situation like this where they will keep playing the song. They're not done. You can drop in and drop out, and it's great practice. Okay? So let's look again up here at this, in the key of C, we had this turnaround where we reached across. If we now wanted to play that same shape turnaround in A, we would need an A on top, wouldn't we? So we couldn't use these chords at the bottom of the fretboard to do that, because A would be right here on the nut. So if we go up and now use your pinky on the 12th fret, which is an octave of the A. So that's going to be our, and then reach across with your 4th finger to get the 12th fret on the 4th string. So this is at the top of the next page. Everybody got this? Got the idea? So Robert Johnson used this exact turnaround in Malted Milk, and then played use an E7 at the 4th and 5th fret, which is shown on the next turnaround there. This E7th. You could play it 3 times. So it's really a triplet that you're not playing all 3 of. Another way to work a turnaround in A would be to use the next one, which is just to use parallel notes on the 2nd and 4th strings. You can finger that with your long finger and ring finger, start on the 9th fret, 5, 7, 9, and that would be the one just under the 10th fret, oddly enough. Okay, everybody find it? So that A is a shape like an F. So it's an F shape played with a bar at the 4th fret. So it's useful to have those bar chords so that you can find another A than the one down here at the nut. Has a little bit different little voice, okay? Let's move back to C. I think A and C are 2 great keys for playing blues on the ukulele, at least a tenor type ukulele. And if you remember, the A blues turnaround was beginning at the 4th fret. If you think about the notes, begin at A, you have then B flat, B, and C. So we could take this same turnaround, play it to the 4th fret, move it up 1, 2, 3 steps, 3 frets. Instead of playing it at the 4th fret, we'll play it at the 7th fret. 7, 6, 7, and not worry about the 4th string. Just still looks like a G7th chord, but we're playing 7, 6, 7. And now I'm just playing these 3 strings. You can play them with your thumb and your index finger. You can pick them all if you want to. And now you'd have to play a C shaped like a B flat, and then a G7. And you see those, the G7th is a shape we haven't used before. You may be familiar with it as an F7th, but we're going to get to the 7th chords in the second half of what we're doing today. You remember the turnaround in A starting on the 4th fret. And what we're going to do now is to take that, instead of bringing at the 4th fret, bring it up to the 7th fret, and then you want to play a C. You could play it like that if you wanted to, but I think the one shaped like a B flat or an A at the nut sounds better at the end of this session. So it's a different shape G7 than we've been used to. This is another chord shape that I would really get a hold of. It's easy enough. You just play like a F, then put these other 2 fingers down. That will give you dominant 7th chords all the way up and down the fretboard. Okay? So I'm just going to mention this. This will take you a little time because this one has has notes that move in both directions, which I think is pretty cool. I needed a turnaround in G, and I really didn't have one, so I had to develop something. And so these these are here more for reference. I would stick with the turnarounds in A and in C. Ones in D, you can move C turnarounds up 2 frets. So that one we just did at the 7th fret, you can move up 2 more frets for D. And then you'd have to play this D at the 5th fret. That's like a 7th. So that's just like this one. This turnaround in C, move it up 2 frets and you've got a turnaround in D. This turnaround here, so this is a turnaround in A, so that you can leave your fingers on the A chord. So you play an A7th, then finger the 2nd string with your ring finger, then you just move your finger from the 3rd string to the 2nd string. So this one takes the least hand motion. So I tend to use this one in between verses where I don't want things to move too much up and down the fretboard and then get right into the next verse. This is a very handy turnaround. It's efficient and confined. Okay? These are really the things that make a blues song sparkle. Okay, you have a turnaround that really works for you. You can play it sort of with ease, and it gets you into the song. All of a sudden now you got the rhythm, the song's going, and you're playing a little shuffle beat, but the turnaround gets you from standing still up to 60 in a way that engages the listener's ear, lets them know what key it's in, where we're going, that this is a blues, it's a shuffle rhythm, and let's go. And then at the end of the verse, you also signal to the listener's ear, I'm going to play another turnaround. That's the end of this verse. We'll come around to the top. We'll play the next verse. So if you are watching a blues band play and want to jump in, first you need to figure out what key they're in. You can kind of listen for the bass note, but listening for the turnaround will let you know when to come in, because the start of the verse is going to be right after that and you'll be playing the 1 chord. You understand the use of the turnaround, which is at the intro, in between each verse, and at the end as a way to finish off the song. You need to make sure and come back to the 1 chord at the end of the song. That way it signals to our ears, yes, we're back home, song's over. What I'd like to do now is to move to the songs at the end of the workshop that we're going to work on today. And one of them is Red River Blues, and this is written by Charles Booker. So I learned this from John Jackson. I used to go up to blues workshops up in West Virginia, and I got to sit with John Jackson, and his was a fantastic story. He grew up near the Rappahannock River in eastern Virginia and played a Piedmont-style blues. And he was sitting out on the porch, and the chain gang came along, and I guess they must not have been in chains, because he talked to one guy out there working. He got him to come over to the porch and show him a little bit on guitar. So he first got introduced to how to play a guitar by a guy on the chain gang. So that gives him qualification number 1 to be a blues player. Okay. He also played fantastic blues, but he also worked as a gravedigger, which I think would also give you qualification number 2. But he was a very self-effacing guy, very humble, and kind of had a little bit of pinch in his voice. I've presented this both in C and A to give you some practice in thinking in both keys. When he was introduced, when he played on stage, he was introduced as a national treasure. Everybody find Red River Blues in C? So I'm holding C with my pinky here, and I'm going to reach across with my ring finger and catch the B flat on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. So we got the C here with your pinky. I think developing your pinky for C is a great technique. You don't play it that way all the time, but you can hammer on between F. I'm keeping the pinky down, playing the F. There are plenty of songs that move between F and C quickly, and so this is the easy way to do it. And what I'm doing with my right hand is just pinching. All right. So if we want to hold that C down here, reach across and get a hold of the 4th string with your ring finger. So I'm pinching once, getting the other 2 of the triplet down. I'm going to move down 1 more finger on the 4th string. And then play the 5/7 chord. So try it again, get that C, and you're going to be playing just that string. So we're going to look down at the bottom of Red River Blues. I know you don't know this yet, but we see a familiar turnaround, which is great. This is a turnaround we know in C. The only difference is we're playing triplets on the top. So each beat gets 3, except for the last one. Going to walk down the so that would be the turnaround. You could play it like the variant that's down below that. So that's the idea, is to get a turnaround and then vary it a little bit one way or another, suit your mood. So this is another 8-bar blues. So let's go ahead and play a turnaround. Even if you just play the 4th string, that would be a version of this turnaround, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which way? Which way? Does that blood river run? My back window to that rising sun. Lord, I left her. Yes, I left her. She treated me so unkind. Keep me worried about her all the time. Red River, please tell me what to do. Oh, I feel so bad and blue. Let's now just look at it in A and see what's happened. A, the note's going to change, right? Play the last 3 verses in the key of A, and this turnaround that I've shown down here just shows a slightly syncopated. So that's just the same thing, but we've now got it. So it's not difficult. It's a lot easier once you hear it, get it in your ear, but we'll use that turnaround to start this out. I'll sing these blues. I'm gonna sing no more. Woman I love, she drove me from the door. I gave her a nickel, then she stole my last dime. Not a day she'd eat my troubled mind. Which way does that blood red river run? My back window to that rising sun. And let's just play this one again. This is the same right hand. The left hand is going up to the 12th fret, so we can play that turnaround, the C turnaround, now in the key of A, because you're holding down A with your pinky. At the end you've got 9 and 12. All right, and then you'd find an E7 somewhere at the 5th fret, perhaps. All the alternating is doing is taking this and changing it to lum dee lum dee lum dee lum dee lum. And you will be blown away if you listen to some of these recordings and can play in the same key with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and you say, well, wait a minute, I'm just playing the same thing they're playing. How did I do that? Because it's 3 chords with some sevenths and you're all good. So let's move on into the next page, which is dominant 7th. Just to remind ourselves what a dominant 7th chord is, we're taking a major chord. Here's the C major scale, and we're going to use every other note for the major chord, 1, 3, and 5. So this is a C, E, and G, and if you can hear it, if you play a C in the shape of a B flat or an A, and then you have C on top. But if you wanted to play a song with a chord with more tension in it, you would have a flatted 7th instead of the octave on top. And so you would have, and so that gives inherent tension between the 3 and this flatted 7th, also between the root and the flatted 7th. So let's look and try to understand where these 7ths come from and how they're made. We've been using this in a C, so if we start with the C-shaped C, which is here, and those numbers going across the top are the position in the scale. So this is a G, C, E, so that's the 5, and you know very well how to make a C7th out of it. but maybe you weren't thinking what I'm doing now is turning the root into a flatted seventh, which happens in how long? If you take the A-shaped A, B-flat shaped or an A shape, this is, it doesn't matter what fingers you're going to play the A with, but it also has a root on the first string and the fourth string. And what we're going to do is to remove your finger from the fourth string and play the G to give you a seventh chord. I mean, on the first and second strings. But this is how one way to play an A seventh chord, one finger A seventh chord, okay? So that gets you the flatted seventh there. If you now move over to the F shape, what we're going to do is have the F here and then put down your other two fingers, your ring finger and your pinky. Your ring finger here on the flatted seventh. This is a E flat. For F, the 5 is a C. So this being a closed chord would give you the ability, which we've already used several times today, to play this F7 here. So this is if you play the F-shaped F, which is just above that, and then put your other two fingers down, you can hear the difference in the tension in the song. But you can also move those up. And if you have a song that moves from G7th to F7th, so you can have some nice walk downs using this shape because it covers all four strings. The other two shapes you can also play in by barring at any fret. So finally, the G7th shape is, we take for granted the root on the fourth string, and we get to a G7th shape by taking the G note on the second string and dropping it 2 steps to F to give you a G7th shape. Because it's not used very much, I wouldn't necessarily choose to play an A like is shown, but we've used it many times today already, walking this A7th shape back down. In the blues, you can count on using 7th chords throughout for the 1, the 4, and the 5. When they feel appropriate to you, or if it's written in the song that you have in front of you. But understand where you're coming from, what is the root, what key are we playing in, and so you ought to be able to then count off. If I'm playing in A, okay, A, B, C, D is the 4 chord, E is the 5 chord. Now eventually you'll get to where you can remember that easily. If you can't remember it, just count it off your hand, or you could go and write the whole scale down the way we learned last time. So now if you just go to the next page of the same material about chords, I wanted to show you the difference that you can make by using different choices for the same nominal same chord. Here's the A7th. I tend to prefer this A7th shape unless you're using the E as part of the melody in your song. If you play this A7th, you'll hear the E come through. So if that's in the song, and particularly on the note where you're playing this chord, maybe you want to play this shape. I tend to prefer the second shape, so having these right up next to each other, as you can see here, 2, 1, 3, 0, gives you a nice bit of tension that you can resolve by going to the D major chord. And you could also then play that by using 2, 2, 2, 3 right next to it. And use the E7th that we showed before. So that's some ways to change it up for the key of A, and I think those changes in the chords are just fine. And I would play the next song you play using these versions of A, D7th, and E, and see what you like the best. In C, we have just discussed how to get from obvious we moved to a C7 there, and now we're going to use that F shape that we used before. Now let's move that F7 shape, instead of at the first fret, let's move your index finger up to the 3rd fret. This shape, but play a C with it, we'll have to get up to the 3rd fret and bar that, and then have this shape. So where is that? That's here. So this is a C7th. It's off of the B flat shaped E7th. I don't think I like it as much as the other C7th. And then we'll play an F7th at the 5th fret. And then the F. And then you're going to want to get up to the G at the 7th fret. So these are different places to play these chords, and you can just choose to use them wherever you'd like if it sounds right. So at the bottom of the page there, I ask a question, which is in the key of G, which way of playing the chord progression works better for your ear? Let me play it both ways. We have a G7th. Or do you like this one better? So it's G7 now. Here's the G7. The first one or the second one? 2. I agree. So that just shows you that you can make choices in here, and it matters what shape you play these chords in. Particularly if you want to step it down like that, that's a nice thing to add interest. Any questions on dominant seventh chords or seventh chords in general? Well, just know that they will pay off in the blues, and there's not that many shapes, okay? But particularly these ones that are movable chords, then it rests back on you to learn the notes on the first string. And you already know C, probably D, E, and F, which allows you now to learn one note, which is G, and then you've got the A at the 12th fret, and you know the whole first string. So I would think about the first string and say, okay, what is the note on the first string that I'm going to play? This is a C. I'm going to play a C seventh chord, and I'm going to have a C on top. So that's a way to get that going. Great. Okay. Have a good week. Take care. Enjoy.